Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of my live tea tasting. I've got a great blend for you guys today. It's one of the rarer ones. I don't do it very often, but when I do not regret it. And today's blend is going to be a yellow tea called Huo Shan Huang. And this one is going to be special because, well, all yellow teas are special because they're so rare. But besides the point, I'm like dying to dig in because this is going to be a delicious experience. I love yellow tea, and I'll talk a little bit about why it's a yellow tea versus any other kind of the regular teas. Hey, Snail, welcome. Versus any one of the regular teas that, hey, Ma, welcome. Versus one of I don't want to call it a regular tea because this is technically a regular tea. It's just a more rare tea, and I'll talk about why it's so rare as well. So let's get started. Just look at how gorgeous this color is. This is not the only reason why it's called a yellow tea, but it's obvious. It looks yellow. Hey, Rachel, welcome. So this one in particular, there's only two places in China that actually make yellow tea. This one is from I forgot the Huo Shan. I'm speeding. Huo Shan Huang comes from, I forgot the name of the region. Let me look that up real quick. Whoa. I should have done this before, but it never. It's never one of my. It's never one of my my streams unless I'm slightly unprepared. So let's see. It's from the Huo Shan area of the Anhui province, and that is a very specific location where it's grown and prepared. Now, what separates a yellow tea from all the other teas is what's generally considered a big no-no. Hey, Teresa, welcome. So with yellow teas, there's an extra step in the process called sweltering, where they keep all of the tea inside the bag and let the heat just start the process inside the bag rather than putting it out, letting it wither first, and then heating it in a wok or a pan or whatever process you're putting it through. It's a big no-no because you're supposed to let it air out, cool off, breathe, and start the withering process. However, it was discovered that if you keep it in the bag and let it heat in itself, the leaves tend to come out. What was this? My Chinese is awful. You're doing great, especially in your pronunciation. Thanks. I've been trying. I mean, it gives you credibility as a tea guy, so I appreciate the compliment. But the sweltering process actually helps the tea develop a certain kind of sweetness to it because the heat it kind of stops the oxidation process early on. So what they do is after it's sweltered, they pull it out, then they wither it. Let me backtrack just a little bit. So the oxidation process starts. The reason why it's a no-no is because the oxidation process is stopped while there's moisture still in the leaf. So you're getting a kind of boiling effect, but without the actual water. It's really hard to describe if you don't really know the two separate paths to take. Let me see if I can if I can speak this a little bit more clearly. The leaves in the big sacs, they can generate up to a couple hundred, not a couple hundred degrees, like about 1 to 120 degrees of heat inside the bag. And that is enough to stop the oxidation process but without withering the leaves first. You're heating up the water inside the leaves as well. So it adds this kind of grassy sweetness to it. And this was, even though it was a big no-no, and that's part of why the yellow teas are so rare, it actually enhances the flavor for some people. So, this became kind of like a very specialized regional kind of tea, but now it's starting to gain in popularity, and it's not as rare as thank you. It's not as rare as it used to be. There's a huge market for it now, and I'm going to talk about why as soon as I take my first sip. Ooh. Oh yes. I gotta take another sip. That was purely for my flavor. It's really, really naturally sweet. It's like drinking a creamy vegetal kind of drink. Like, normally when you think of vegetal, it tastes like seaweed, or it tastes like salad, or it tastes like grass, or something like that along those lines. You get that kind of umami that's kind of like on the saltier edge. This one tastes very little salt, it's got more on the sweet side, more on the creamy texture, and it's just like it wakes up your senses, because it's got some of the qualities of a green tea, but it's not like it's an extremely sweet green tea, and it's absolutely lovely. Now, about the steeping, you have to understeep it for sure, because it's more on the green side than the black side. So you'll want to keep it around actually slightly less than a green tea if you want to pull out all the sweetness. So I would brew it around 109 to 110, right along the edge of a white tea and a green tea. And then only steep it for 3 minutes, because anything more than that will ruin the flavor. You'll get a bitter flavor. You'll get a bitter taste that just kind of like shuts down your palate. At least that's the way that it works for me. And when you drink a yellow tea, you want to appreciate the natural sweetness. You want to experience some of that creamy texture without any of the bitterness, any of the astringency. There is no astringency so far, but that might change as it cools down. I'll let you know. So I want to talk about, again, a little bit why it's also known as a yellow tea. Now, if I could pull out a single leaf, there we go. You'll notice, well, it's probably not going to show up all that well, because it's like it's a little bit dark here, but this is not your typical green looking leaf. It's very light and more on the yellow side. So you're getting what was this? Yes, the natural sweetness. I really like yellow tea. Oh, absolutely. It's like so distinct from any other tea. It's got that same level of distinction as like an oolong. When you drink an oolong, you know automatically it's an oolong. While green teas tend to be mixed up between, you have like the Japanese and the Chinese green teas. Those are definitely different, but also they're distinct from each other, but you can tell it's a green tea. White teas are kind of hard to distinguish sometimes, because they have very low flavor. But a yellow tea has a very distinct, super sweet green taste to it, without the natural astringency or the saltiness that usually follows with that first sip. And I just caught my reflection Oh, it's on this side. Right there. My computer set up. Okay, I did not expect that. So you see like little hands waving in the background. Anyway. I'm just, oh, okay, that caught me off guard. But anyway, so that's what it looks like when it's dry. When we open up the leaf, let me see if I can pull out a good specimen here. Yeah, this will work. So you see that it actually doesn't change a whole lot from its original form. It's really still needle-like. It's still very closed, which means I understeeped this probably quite a bit. I could have probably left it on. I steeped it for 3 minutes. I could have probably left it on for 5 at the temperature that I had it. But I don't want to tempt fate because yellow tea can go bad pretty quickly if you don't handle with care. However, you can open up the leaf a little bit. I'm trying not to break it because this is a very delicate process. In its needle form, yeah, I'm not going to attempt it. In its needle form, it tends to be a little bit brittle, but you can see after I open it a little bit, it's the standard 2-leaf pluck. There is, I can't tell in this light if this is a bud or if this is just part of the stem. I'm thinking it's part of the stem. Yeah, it's only part of the stem. So this looks like it's just either it's just a 2-leaf pluck. So it's not standard. It's a light pluck, but that's good because like you're getting just the tip, and it's not a young leaf, so it's more aged, more mature. You're gonna get a stronger taste from that. Oh, that is so nice. There's this kind of like super silky creaminess to it that I'm thoroughly enjoying. I need to drink, I need to buy more because I'm starting to run a little bit low. But yeah, like I'm impressed by the taste of it. It comes out really, really soft on the palate. There's very light mouthfeel. All of the creaminess that I talk about is based on flavor rather than based on the actual feeling of it on my tongue. It is slightly a bit of a slow burn, but it fades. It fades semi-quickly. It's not the slowest burn tea I've had, but the taste that lingers is really, really nice. It's sitting on the sides, mostly on the sides of my tongue. Oh, excuse me. And you know, I'm getting that kind of like, it's kind of like a grassy sweetness to it. It's just sitting there. I'm thoroughly enjoying it. Now this is a caffeinated tea. How much caffeine in it has is going to be very difficult to explain because every cup, literally every cup, is going to be different depending on how you brew it. But generally speaking, it's going to be more on the lower end. It's going to be about half of a cup of coffee, maybe a little bit lower than that. It's not going to be highly caffeinated at all. So I mean, that's just by my scale. And I love the way it just like kind of dissipates on my tongue as I speak. There's a certain kind of silkiness in the taste, and I'm getting like a kind of a little bit of like a honey in it. That sweetness is very profound. I have to say it's very profound. and very, very milky. You know, and that's something that, you know, when you add milk or cream to a tea, it's because it needs that. This does not. I mean, I could probably add milk and sugar to it just to make it more like a dessert, but honestly, this is really super sweet on its own. I'm seriously loving it. I mean, look just by looking at it, it looks delicate. It almost looks clear, like there's nothing in it at all. It almost looks like water. So color-wise, it's more on the side of white tea, like a good Bai Mudan or a Silver Needle or something like that, where you can tell it has had something in it, but you really can't tell how much. This is the way it's gonna look, and it's just gonna sit really, really nice on the palate. And it's got like right here, right on the sides of my tongue as I swallow, it leaves this kind of sweet trail. And you know, it's as you can tell, I'm really liking this tea. I have had this one before. This was part of my lessons, and I had to bring it to you guys because it's one of those teas that it's so good you want to share it. You know, so I'm thoroughly appreciating it. I'm going to go ahead and do the Thomas taste, because the Thomas taste always reveals something that is vital to it, at least in my opinion. So doing that, I'm tasting more of the vegetal aspects. It's definitely more on the side of Chinese green tea than Japanese green tea. But on that note, the vegetation of it, vegetalness, I don't know. The vegginess of it tastes, it's not overpowering at all. It's so simple, so light. And yet, it's got a certain sweet complexity to it. And I'm still not getting any astringency at all, which is great because sometimes a lot of the green teas, as they cool off, they get astringent because all of the sediment is starting to settle. This one, I'm not getting that at all. I'm still getting that like honey sweetness that it started off with. So it's maintaining the flavor really, really nicely. Oh, I need a moment. This is just I'm thoroughly enjoying this tea today. Oof. Okay, I'm back in the game. I just need to sit there and appreciate it a little bit. But yeah. So, questions, comments, anything you want to talk about, now's the time. I'm going to open up the floor. I'm going to answer Teresa's question as I always do. What would I pair this with? So, given that it's sweet but also vegetal, I would have to pair it with something that tastes light. Probably, I mean, I'm thinking around like peanuts, like maybe salted peanuts would go well with this. Something bready, maybe muffins, maybe I could really see myself eating like just a light sandwich, you know, something with watercress in it. Because watercress has that kind of crispy, fresh feeling that would go well with this. It's tasting really, really nice. Uh, I can't really think of a dessert that would go well with this because most of the desserts that I'm thinking of would probably overpower it. Anything too sugary, anything too sweet would probably overpower this one. Ooh, excuse me. It's really I'm struggling to think of anything that would go well with this. Maybe graham crackers to go with that little honey flavor. I think graham crackers would probably do well with some of this. I'm just so thirsty. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit more about the sweltering process. Generally, the sweltering is left out. I didn't mention how long. It's usually between 5 to 8 to 10 hours. Sometimes longer, but never long enough for it to start to rot in the center. So you have to watch how you swelter it, because you're still dealing with water inside a leaf, and that tends to it tends to have like the bacteria eat it faster when they are hydrated. So that's why we dehydrate teas, because once you dehydrate the material, bacteria can't survive in it to live. To eat it. That's why tea never goes bad, because unless you add water to it or you add light or too much heat, it can go stale, but it's not going to go rotten. That's how you get 100-year-old tea. Oh, that's so good. Okay, questions, comments. Now's the time. I'm opening up the floor again. I do have an announcement. One announcement for those of you who have noticed within the past 2 days. I have started a fundraising project. We're participating as a team in the Chicago Duck Race. So if you don't know what that is, what they do is they raise money for a cause. This one being the Special Olympics. And what they do is you pay money, you adopt a duck or a package of ducks, and they add the ducks to this giant dump truck. And then I believe it's like early August, what they do is they dump all of these ducks into the Chicago River and make them race in a little obstacle course. And whoever gets like I think it's the first 10 or the first 20, get a prize, depending on what place you make. So it's always a fun little thing to do. You can win a car, you can win a vacation. These are some serious good prizes. So I have started this, not for the prizes, of course, but just to give back to the community. You guys know one of the core values of the community is community service. So we want to give back, and we want to make an impact. So I have set a goal of 200 ducks, and so far I think there's 16 or 18, something like that. So we're off to a pretty good start. This will be around for the next week or so. And if we hit that 200 duck mark, I'm going to do something just outrageous funny. I'm going to do the ice bucket challenge, but I'm going to do it with Lipton iced tea. And I'm going to live stream it. You guys can all watch this and watch me get teabagged, basically. So I implore you guys, go ahead and adopt a few ducks. It's going to a great cause, and I am thoroughly excited to participate in it this year. I'll include the link in the description after the stream is done, so that you guys can check it out. Hopefully, adopt a duck or two, and we'll see where this goes. Oh, I swear this thing it just sits on my tongue so well, and it's to me it's refreshing and energizing. It's not just a caffeine kind of kick, but it makes me feel excited. It makes me feel happy. It's like drinking sunshine. You get that yellow sunshine. I know that sounds extremely corny, but that's the kind of mood that it puts me in. I'm really liking this. Yeah, I just had to say, I just had to say that. Oh. And it's still I'm not tasting any astringency. On the contrary, right now as it cools off, it's getting a little bit malty. And I think that's from the concentration of the honey kind of flavoring in it. It's starting to concentrate a little bit, and so it's getting a little bit of a darker flavor. Tastes a little bit like malt, a little bit like wheat. But it's really, I'm really loving this tea. I highly recommend it. Even if it is a rarity, I think it's worth it. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up tonight. Thank you all for joining me so much, and I'm looking forward to the next time that we meet again. And I will link this tea for sure onto the page. Go ahead, check it out. Adopt a duck too. It'll be worth it. All right. Have a good night, everyone. Till next time.